All right, good day and hello. Welcome to the second Aerēz Q&A session. My name is George Zarepsky, and I will be moderating today's session. First off, I'd like to introduce the founders, Candace and Mark Perea. Candace is a programmer and CEO of MCP Networks, and Mark is a network engineer and CTO of MCP Networks. MCP Networks is the master company of the first product that we're putting out is Aerēz, which is what we're going to talk about today. All right, Mark, Candace, hello, thank you.
Good morning.
Morning.
All right, first I wanted to give a brief overview of Aerēz and some of its features. And then Mark and Candace, they're going to focus a little bit on the user and device tab. We'll then follow up with a question and answer segment. So please add any of your questions to the chat window to the right of this video, or it may be to the right and below, and on mobile it'll be at the bottom. We may not be able to answer all the questions in this session, but we promise to reply to them as soon as we can. And of course, you can always go to our website, aerez.net, aerez.net, and there's a chat bubble on the bottom right of the website, and we can field your questions there as well. Mind you, you don't have to hang out and wait for a reply. We will email you the response if we're not available to answer it immediately. So leave your email address in there. Right, so let's get into it. So for those of you that are new to the product, Aerēz is a hardware and software solution that improves your home network and gives you unprecedented control of your devices. So we're going to be giving this overview is really geared toward our trial users to give them some insight as to how the users tab and the device tab works and some other options that they have in the settings section. So let's just start off with the login. Got my login credentials saved, but this is our login screen. If you remember me, you should only have to do this once or not very often, as long as that session is active. Then you'll be able to get into our dashboard here. So this is the home screen, and we have the icon of the family that you can upload in the settings section. You have three icons right up front, the user's icon, which you can click through, the device icon, and then the famous pause internet button. Clicking this button will shut down internet connection to every device that's connected to your network, except for the one that you're shutting it down from, or any devices you have listed as a master device. But we'll get more into that later. As we scroll up, we notice we have the activity section, and this is where you'll get notifications of any information that Aerēz feels is important for you to know, such as a user going past their bandwidth limit, a user attempting to go to a site that's been blocked, that type of thing. And at the bottom we have our menu, which is standard across all the pages. We have the home screen, the users tab, device tab, and then the settings tab. And as you can see, this is very clean, straight to the point interface. That's what we're shooting for anyway, so we definitely want your feedback to make sure we're on track here. When we go to the users tab, you see a list of users. Again, the pause internet button up top. Device tab will list all the devices that are currently on your home network. Again, pause internet button at the top. And then the settings tab with a few options that we'll get into later in this broadcast. So that's a quick overview. I'd like to hand it over to Candace now, and she will talk more detail about the users tab.
Cool. That was a great overview. Yeah, we just want to cover a little bit of information on the users tab. If you are a current trial user, you've probably loaded up the user interface, and you've seen that we've created some default users for you just to get started. So we'll have like a guest default user, and we'll have a media default user. The user screen just lets you be able to put your devices to a person or to a group so that you can manage them really easy. So to get started, we hit the plus icon that's going to be in the upper right corner, opening up the Add User screen. And so in this view, you can assign a name, and then we have a couple of options. You can turn on the child-friendly filter, And that's basically going to keep that user from going to any inappropriate or malicious websites. It's really meant to be a way to monitor your kids when they're surfing the web, and so that they don't wander into places you don't want them to be. And then the other option you'll see is the drop down for user type. So we have 4 different options here. And basically the user type setting tells Aerēz what connection priority this particular user will have. In this case, adults are priority number 1, followed by media, child, and guest. And this setting also helps us to allocate the bandwidth and optimize your network. So hopefully you see much more responsive connections on all of your devices. So after you've added a user, you're going to probably want to jump into the edit user screen. So we're going to go back to our list of users here and take a look at Ash, and we'll see what we've got. So in this screen, again, we added the pause internet button, which basically this will pause all the devices that are assigned to this particular user. Underneath that, we have a couple more edit options. Again, you can turn the child-friendly filter on or off. You can set the user type. But more important on this edit screen is the bedtime blocker, which is a really useful tool when you want to make sure the internet shuts off at a certain time every evening and automatically comes on the next morning. So you basically can set a weekday, which is going to take effect Sunday through Thursday, and then we have a weekend, which is going into effect on Friday and Saturday nights, ending the following morning. So once you have your start and your end time in there, then to just save, hit the save button, and that will actually put the bedtime blocker into effect. You can come back in and turn the bedtime blocker off. You can come back in and change the settings. You know, in the summertime, you maybe want to change the time a little bit. So you can play around with that. Back at the top, we want to be able to personalize our users. So we have an edit profile button there. And in here, you're going to be able to upload an image, change the name of your user, and then in the future, we're adding in the ability to email and text your users. So if they've reached, if it's bedtime and they're trying to access the internet, maybe you're going to have an automatic email alert going to that user that says, hey, or I'm sorry, a text message that goes off, and then your text alerts that user that they're no longer going to be able to use their internet. If we go back here, then if you want a quick view to see all the devices that have been assigned to your user, then you can go ahead and hit the Devices tab, and that'll quick show you what devices are assigned. We have a little bit of device information there as to the status, the last time it was connected, to give you a little more information and a quick view on that. So I think that's kind of the overview on the users, so I will hand it back to George.
Thank you, Candace. Yeah, so as you probably noticed, there's not a lot going on here, to the eye anyway, but I want to point out that there is a lot of stuff going on for the background. Aerēz is doing all the prioritization and everything automagically to make sure that these devices are being handled appropriately based on our patent pending algorithms. So with that being said, I will hand it over to Mark, who's going to talk a little bit more about the Details tab. Mark?
Thanks a lot, George. Hello, everybody, and thanks for joining today. I'm going to be going over the Devices section of our user interface. So this area is mostly just for information, but there is, like George said, one key piece here, because this is where you assign devices to their owners or the user. And that's, again, key to making the under-the-hood algorithms take place that automatically smooth out the bandwidth and make sure that no devices are hogging the entire connection. So on the devices screen, we've seen this pause button before. It's here again just to make it easily accessible. On this screen, you'll see all the devices that have communicated on the network. We're going to soon be sorting those out by the one that putting the devices that have most recently talked at the top of the list. But for now, all the devices are there. You may have to scroll up and down to see the complete listing. Most families using Aerēz have over 20 devices on their network. So one of the things we've gotten feedback on and we're adding is a user image to any device that is assigned to a user. So the picture will show up just to the right of the device, and that'll come from the picture that you uploaded as part of the user. We're also, if you look right next to the device, we're going to, it might say OK or inactive. We're also going to show there whether a device is paused or has good or bad Wi-Fi signals, stuff like that, to give you a better idea of what the device's health is. And then finally, the placeholder icons you can see there in yellow, that's going to be, in the future, a clue of what the device might be. So that in the future will look like a phone, a TV, laptop, etc. So let's go into a device and let's look at the details. Right away, we want to make sure that pausing the internet is super easy. So if you click the pause button in this context, it's just this one device that gets blocked from talking to the interwebs while the rest of your network keeps on keeping on as normal. Next on is the nickname, and we feel this is really important for a lot of users. MAC addresses and IP addresses are what routers need to do their job, but you want something that's meaningful to a human. So here's where you put that name, and you'll see this name carried over to the other screens of the user interface so that you'll know which device you're making changes on. The next button is that master device that we talked about earlier, and it's an on-off button. And what it does is just ensures that when you click a global pause of the internet, this device, any master devices that are set on your network, will not get paused. And that's just to ensure that you won't be locked out from turning the internet back on again after you've turned it off. So the next thing you see here is where you assign a user. So we just click this drop down, and as long as you've created a user first, they'll show up in this drop down menu. And then you just pick which user owns this device, and like we say, under the hood, we're going to automatically balance the bandwidth and set the priority appropriately so that this device has the best experience. Finally, after the save button, we've got some technical information that can't be modified. It's just there in case you need to call for support or go online and use our chat box. So if you need some help with the device, you just send us a message. That's it for the devices section, so I'll give it back to George.
All right, thank you, Mark. Great overview there. So again, I can't stress this enough, not a lot of configuration. As you can see, there's just a few areas where there's input of data, that's the nickname, and then picking the very few options for the device themselves. And that's it. That's how you run, how you interact, I should say, with Aerēz. So there's one more tab I want to go into here, and that's the settings tab. So this is going to give you a little more optimization for your network management, and we're also going to talk a little bit about the activity log, account section, and support. If I could turn it back to you, Mark, just to go over the network management section briefly.
Yeah, sure. So if you want to make changes to your Wi-Fi, network management is where you do it. So there's two sections here, primary Wi-Fi and guest Wi-Fi. And primary Wi-Fi is just your normal Wi-Fi network that you and your family connect to. And so you can turn it on or off. You can change the name of that network, which is also known as its SSID. And then you can set a password. So you can either have that password protected or wide open to the internet. We highly recommend that you put a password that's at least 8 characters on your primary Wi-Fi. Now on the guest Wi-Fi, that comes defaulted to off. But if you're going to have a party or something, go ahead and turn the guest Wi-Fi on. Name it something like guest Wi-Fi or whatever name pleases you. And then you can choose to have a password or not. And the expectation is that you'll turn that guest Wi-Fi on today, have a party, and then turn that guest Wi-Fi back off again tomorrow. So as soon as you hit update, We will, under the hood, turn all those settings on and make your Wi-Fi network work. And that's how you can set guest Wi-Fi and change your SSID and password.
Awesome. Great. Thanks, Mark. So that's the network management portion. Again, this is more of a one-time setup deal unless you're going to go in for your guest network modification. Super simple. Actually, the goal is to make this easier for you if you do need to use this guest network. A lot of routers today have these options, but you have to log into the router. Good luck finding the password. There's a ton of configuration. Then what is the Wi-Fi password? Sometimes they have limitations on how weak the password can be, so you have to have 13 characters, mother's maiden name, all this extra stuff. We just want to keep it simple, give the user an easy to remember password for the guests, and then as soon as your party or event is over with, you shut it back down and your network is kept secure. So,
and one other thing to make mention of on that guest Wi-Fi is that it is a completely separate network from your other network. So it does not have the capacity or capability of communicating with the rest of your devices on your normal SSID. So they're isolated and protected from each other.
Great point, Mark. Thank you. Yeah, so that really nails it home that it's all about security. Obviously, we're trying to keep that as a primary focus, but we are keeping that as a primary focus along with ease of use. So let me go into the account section now, and pretty straightforward. This is where we'll update our profile image. We can take a look at the master devices that we have selected to be on the network. Of course, just simple profile updates like first name, last name, the nickname that we want to have attached to it. We can change the password here and make sure, if our email address changes, everything is tracked by email nowadays. So if the email address changes, we want to update that here. And then we can also give an alternate email, which is useful for account recovery, that type of thing. Going back to the settings menu, we have the activity log. So on the home screen, remember there was the activity area. When you dismiss a notification, if you want to find out what that notification was at a later date, you'll come over to the activity log, and this has the history of all of the notifications you received. And the support tab. Now this is very important to me because my job is to make sure you have success using Aerēz and to take all of your feedback and bundle that up and make improvements on our platform. So we want to give you as many contact options as possible, and hopefully you'll find one that works best for you. We have the email option right here. By clicking on this envelope, you'll be able to email us through whichever email client is on your phone or desktop. The phone support, you can call us, and also we have the chat window. Now you'll notice when you first start setting up Aerēz that you'll get pop-up screens giving you a hand through some of the configuration options. This chat window will allow you to go see the history of those conversations and those notifications so that you can go back and take a look if you need another tip. Also, you can start a new conversation with our support desk. And whatever you type in here, we'll get notification of. If we're at the computer, we can reply to you right away. If not, we will get back to you. You don't have to sit and wait for us to reply in this chat window. There is a log that's kept, and when we reply, it will email you. So definitely take advantage of that feature as well. All right, I think I got a little winded here, and I'm pushing up against our time slot. Let me jump out to see if there's any Q&A. I don't see any questions from YouTube, but I do have a couple that were submitted offline. So I'll go ahead and post one of those now. Brooklyn wants to know, how would I know which device is which on the device list? Yeah, great question. So that's can be a hurdle because, as Mark said earlier, there's the IP address that comes, and sometimes, for example, like this device, we have the MAC address here and then the IP address. How do you know which device is which? Mark, Candace, do you guys want to jump on that one, or I can field it if necessary?
Well, I can kind of give you the little bit that I would recommend. Well, first off, I think we have a FAQ on our Aerēz.net site that actually will help you out there. George is pulling that up. If you're on your device or on your desktop, laptop, and you go to this, find the IP of your find the IP address here, and you hit this link, it should actually help you identify what your current IP address is on that device. So that's one way to be able to tell.
Yeah, and if I can jump in here real quick, Candace, I think I was displaying you instead of the screen to walk people through that. So let me just go back real quick. So Candace was talking about the FAQ, frequently asked questions section of our site. It's a little bare right now, but as we get questions, we will definitely add them to this section. So the fact in particular she was speaking of is this one: get a device IP address using Chrome Firefox. So this is useful if you have a device that you actually have a web browser on, and you can go put in a website. So you'll put in aerēz.net/IP on that device, and it will bring up a window that looks like this, hopefully. Now this doesn't work across all platforms, but it is a great resource for like a first stop. So when you get the result, if you get the result, you really want to focus on these last three numbers here, right? So 207. And as I switch back to our Aerēz screen here, we can look through our list for 207, and here it is, 207. Now Aerēz already found a name for this one, so in this example, you know, if it didn't have a name, you would then go in and put a nickname, and then that would help you to identify the device when it shows up on this list, and also if there's any notifications about what's going on with that device. Did I cover everything on that, guys?
Yeah, I think so. I think in the future, I just wanted to note that we're going to be able to add to the device listing if the device type is an Apple or an Android, and so that should be able to help people pinpoint their devices as well.
Yeah, definitely. That would be a great help, especially for some of those devices that we can't access a web browser on, like thermostats and stereo receivers and things like that.
Right.
But you know, guys, if you have any issues trying to figure out what a device is, please let us know, and we will definitely find a way to help you out in determining which device is which. So we're, again, just a chat away. So drop us a line, let us know what the issue is, and then we can go try to help you find that. All right. I do have another question from offline, from Kevin, who asks, how do I know what is being blocked? There's no checkbox to block sites. Okay, great question. Mark, do you want to field that one?
Sure, I guess, you know, if you're used to some of the competitor offerings on how to control what's being blocked and what's not being blocked, you're probably used to seeing, you know, 40 different checkboxes for we're going to block things like gambling and other things like pornography and other things like violence and etc. In our vision, we believe that you know, a kid's a kid, adult's an adult, and you just want to have this thing on or off. So as part of the UI, you know, in a user screen, you would just select that child filter, and then anything deemed inappropriate by us would be blocked. If you visit that as a web page, you would see that it pops up with a, and George has an example screen here, but a Lost in the Woods page for now that we're going to rebrand slightly to just say, as you can see, for your safety, this domain has been blocked. In other applications, stuff that's blocked just doesn't come up. It might look like a broken application, but the intent is that your kid hasn't gone to something that is inappropriate.
Yeah, great answer, Mark. Again, this is following our theme of trying to keep it super simple and not overload of configuration. You know, I'm pretty tech-minded, or I would consider myself pretty tech-minded. But with 4 kids, I really don't have time to sit down and try to micromanage every site that's whitelisted or blacklisted. I need something that is quick and easy to implement, and also that my wife can implement. You know, she definitely is not the one to get in the weeds on any type of configuration. You know, and again, this isn't a end-all be-all solution. You know, at a certain point, we definitely have to engage with our family, of course, engage with the kids, and make sure that they're on the right path. So Aerēz is meant to be a tool to help you do that. You know, it's not a one-stop solution for all your parenting woes by any means. So that's all the questions that I had offline. Mark, Candace, is there anything that you guys would like to add?
Just wanted to thank everybody for coming out today and for listening to our talk. Appreciate it.
I just wanted to add that we kind of did this demo for our current trial users, but if you have caught the webinar and are interested in trying out Aerēz, we are currently having open beta signups. So you can go to aerēz.net and register for a chance to be a beta tester, and you know, share that information with anybody you think might be interested. We really are looking for feedback from families so that we can improve the product. So yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Yeah, great point, Candace. Can't believe I almost left that out. So this beta testing sign up, this is a raffle in a sense to afford you the opportunity to get our hardware and our software platform, our service, free for a limited time. And yeah, what we want from you is to get feedback on the product, how you're using it, how you're interacting with it, what you hate about it, what you wish was better, what you do like about it. So if you're interested in being part of that program, by all means, please do sign up. There's limited spaces available, so get in quick. And with our raffle, it's a completely random drawing, and you do have chances to increase your potential by sharing it with your friends. Of course, we want you to share the platform out, and anybody that you think might be interested, you know, let them know about the product. So I think we've covered everything for this session. I want to thank you, Candace, Mark, for taking the time out to talk with us about this. And as I understand it, we have another one tomorrow afternoon, maybe, that we'll be putting on. So I will see you guys again then. To all our viewers, again, thank you for coming out. And please give us feedback in the comments section. Come by the website, drop us a question in the chat bubble on the bottom right, and have a great day. Thanks.
Thanks.
Thank you.